You're holding on to control, to outcomes, to people who don't hold you back the same way. And it's exhausting. The more you cling, the more life slips away. But what if the secret isn't to hold tighter? What if freedom is found in letting go? Not giving up, not walking away, but choosing clarity over control. That's what the greatest thinkers taught us. Krishna, the Buddha, Marcus Aurelius, Carl Jung. They didn't live detached from life. They lived detached from illusion. Let's explore their teachings. Let's understand how detachment isn't cold. It's powerful. On a battlefield in ancient India, a prince named Arjuna is paralyzed. He is about to fight in a war, but the enemy includes his own family, mentors, and friends. He turns to Krishna, his charioteer, his guide, and confesses his fear. His heart is torn, his hands won't move. And Krishna says, "You have a right to perform your duty, but not to the outcome of your duty." This is the essence of karma yoga. It means take action, fulfill your dharma, your role, your nature, but don't get attached to how things turn out. Arjuna wants victory. He fears failure. He hates the idea of loss. But Krishna teaches, your job is not to control results. Your job is to act with integrity and let go. This is not laziness. This is not passivity. This is focused effort without obsession, a kind of calm clarity. And in this, Krishna shows us that detachment isn't distance. It's discipline. You live fully. You love deeply. You care immensely. But you're not owned by any of it. Now let's move to Rome. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the Roman Empire, sits alone at night, writing in his journal. He is surrounded by wars, plague, betrayal, grief, and he writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics taught us that real power is internal. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. Epictetus, another Stoic, said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Up to us, our thoughts, our words, our choices. Not up to us, how others feel, whether we get the job, what people say." The Stoic practice is about radical clarity. It's about drawing a line between what you can affect and what you must release. This is detachment in practice. You stop wasting your peace on things that never belong to you. And suddenly, you feel light again, free again. You've reclaimed your mind. In silence, under a Bodhi tree, a prince turned monk sat still. And after days of meditation, he opened his eyes and saw the nature of the human condition. Everything changes. Nothing lasts. The root of suffering, he realized, is attachment. We crave, we cling, we build identities around what we fear losing. We love, and then fear the love ending. We succeed, and then fear falling. But this fear is optional. Buddha didn't tell us not to feel. He told us to feel everything, without being owned by it. To experience joy, without needing it to last. To face pain, without turning it into identity. His teaching was clear. Let go. Let be detachment here means letting the world pass through you, without resistance, without grasping, like wind through leaves, like a river flowing around a rock. You stay rooted, but you don't need to hold the water. Modern philosopher Alan Watts said, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." We try so hard to fix, to change, to control. But often life settles when we stop stirring it. Watts believed that detachment wasn't avoidance. It was trust. Trust that you can let go, and the moment won't destroy you. Trust that you don't need to force outcomes. Trust that the more you allow, the more life unfolds. It's not passive, it's powerful. It takes strength to stop grasping, and incredible faith to just breathe. Carl Jung, one of the most profound psychologists of the 20th century, had a unique view. He said, "You don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." For Jung, detachment wasn't about escaping feeling. It was about detaching from illusions. Illusions of who you think you are, of how you think people see you, of the stories you cling to about your past. Jung talked about the shadow, the unconscious part of ourselves we deny. To be truly free, we must face that shadow, not run from it, not numb it. When you do, you detach not from the world, but from the ego, from the lie that your pain defines you, from the belief that you are broken. In doing this, you don't escape your humanity. You embrace it, fully, honestly, bravely. And then, you're no longer afraid to feel, because nothing owns you. Today, detachment is harder than ever. We're wired for attention, addicted to validation. Every ping, like, comment becomes another tether. We attach to outcomes we can't control, to identities we've crafted online, to people who don't even know us, and we suffer. We think we need more visibility, more control, more applause. But what we really need is less noise, less chasing, less proving, less clinging. We need silence again, space again, so we can hear what's underneath all that noise, ourselves. So how do we live with detachment without becoming numb? Here's how. 1. Awareness. Notice when you're gripping too tightly to an outcome, to an idea, to a version of yourself. 2. Acceptance. Let life be as it is, not as you think it should be. 3. Right action. Do your best, not because you'll be rewarded, but because it's who you are. 4. Release, let go. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to find peace. 5. Return to yourself. The part of you that's still, quiet, whole. The one that doesn't need the world to say you're enough, to believe it. Detachment isn't cold. It isn't numb. It isn't walking away from the world. It's walking into it, without fear. It's showing up fully, loving deeply, and still being okay when things change. Because they will. Everything does. Let go. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to breathe. Be present. And when the time comes, walk away. Lightly. That's not indifference. That's inner power.